take over most of the demo activity. And the way that it's going to work today, before Dan gets going, is we're going to treat this as kind of a half and half type of webinar, where we're going to give you a demonstration of the product, some of the newer functionality, some of the direction that we're going. We'll do that for the first half, and then we'll treat the last half as more of an interactive type of webinar where you can ask your questions. You're certainly welcome to ask them early on, and we'll try to chat those responses back to you. But if you want to have some interactive Q&A, save that for the latter half of the presentation. So let me introduce Dan Merkin. Dan, are you there?
Brad, yes I am. Can everyone hear me? Is the sound all coming in loud and clear? Okay, fantastic. First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking their time and coming to our Q&A webinar. A lot of you are customers, and I also want to thank you. Yesterday we put out an email, some information about what was going on a personal level, and so many of you have responded. I don't want to make anything about this webinar about that other than to say thank you as a person. We really appreciate all the help that everyone has provided. So back to business, trade ideas. We've been in business for 13 years. And we're innovating. We're trying to do everything that we can to shorten the distance between when some information is possible and when you act on it. But before we get into the presentation, as always, we have to disclaim that we are not a registered investment advisor, and all the information that you will see in this webinar is to be used for informational and educational purposes only. Brad, if you can go to slide 3, please. So a lot of times when we do these webinars, we just like to remind people that news firms and media are starting to become more aware of how important idea generation is to the investment community, and we are the leaders in that. And recently we won an award. It's a Benzinger Award that we always share with our Q&A webinar members. And this is just to showcase the fact that we're very serious, and luckily we're being recognized for it. So without further ado, the beginning of our presentation was something that I actually saw on Twitter from a gentleman that I follow, and he had this sticker on: once you see results, it becomes an addiction. That rang true to me. Like when I saw it, instantly, like the bells started to ring, because I remember that when I first started trading as a professional in 1994, you sit in front of a computer and you buy, you know, a stock, and you see like what your P&L is, and if you're lucky or, you know, things go your way, all of a sudden that P&L goes up and you're like, wow, I see results, and you definitely want to do it again. Results are addictive, and that is a good thing, because the trade ideas, what we are all about is shortening that distance that you have between what is a symbol and what are some possible results that you can get from it. So Brad, let's jump into the next couple of slides. You know, part of what, we'll stay on this one. Again, as we pace you through the Q&A webinar, for those that are not aware, majority of you are, but for those that are not aware, version 4 that we brought to market added charting, and we're constantly tweaking and improving the charts. So there's like new internal pre-beta releases that we're testing daily. Again, we're trying to improve performance, all sorts of things. So at any point in time, if you see Brad and I in demos starting to do a high wire act, that's part of the entertainment for you. We're here to see how it can mess up and see how we react to it in time. The next slide, again, right. Well, the next slide, goes back to the original picture that I said about once you see results, it becomes, you know, an addiction. These are the results. This is what we are data mining for. We're trying to get to the best possible candidate for you to put your money into in a programmatic sort of way. We're crunching the most amount of numbers, the most data, and we believe that our approach is the most statistically, mathematically sound, considering, again, knowing that it is impossible to predict the market, because nothing that has not happened can be predicted. So again, you're more like an FBI profiler trying to hunt a serial killer. You don't know where they're going to be, but you can see by their behavior and you start making deductions. Now that is, again, that's a numbers game. That's what we are the best at, and that's what Brad and I are going to be showcasing you today. We're going to really kind of let you dive into the underbelly, the foundation of what the AI channel looks like. We're going to be able to demonstrate that. And just, again, show you a lot of very, very good information and reasons to engage for the Trade Idea software. Brad, let's start the show.
Let's do it. So for 13 years, guys, we have been focused specifically and entirely on idea generation. Because that has been our core focus, that is what we do, and we do it very, very well. I'm showing you our desktop. This is our flagship product, TI Pro. So about 80% of you guys are subscribers, about 20% aren't. So as a result, I'm going to do a 10-minute high-level overview of trade ideas and the value that it can provide for someone. So before I kind of get into what we're looking at here, please know that Trade Ideas is fully configurable. You can get into any one of these windows and configure it to your liking. But we've made some enhancements over the last year or so in allowing this tool to really serve up ideas to someone that's just getting started. Not so much getting started being a trader in the market, but getting started with our software. It's a real comprehensive platform. And this is not a tool, this is a platform. And over the last 13 years, we have taken this idea generation and incorporated numerous visual elements, numerous windows to visualize this data. And we brought to market recently this channel bar, and the channel bar allows an end user to cycle through these various workspaces that the professionals at Trade Ideas have created and configured. You know, we're experts in it. We know all the filters that exist, all the alerts and trigger events, and as such, we're very, very suited to be able to make these channels that allow you guys to just instantly get started getting value out of Trade Ideas and finding great opportunities midday. So right now we're looking at our after hours channel. This is a channel made up of multiple windows inclusive of our charting that's looking at movement that's happening after hours. So we're always listening to the market. We're always listening for certain events, and the events that we're looking for in a post-market channel happens to be stocks that have big volume, something that's moving with a post-market high or low, or just something with post-market volume leaders. So we're instantly giving you guys the ideas and directing you to the symbols that have actionable events in them right now. So let me just kind of peruse through a couple different channels so you can get an idea of the visual information that we're presenting to you and how to interpret that information. Because I said earlier, we're doing this in a variety of different windows, and each channel is made up of a variety of windows, and they're all indicative of this icon in the upper left-hand corner of each window. So let me show you the different types of windows that we have available. We have an alert window, which is an event-based window. That's in a window that's going to send a symbol right to the top of the window when a certain action occurs. And I'll show you examples of all these. The top list window, I have two examples right here on this particular channel where it's a ranked list of stocks based upon the filters that are present in the system. And then we give you a couple ways to visualize it from a sorting perspective and also a color gradient tool, and I'll show you more about that as we go through some of the channels. In the 13 years, we've listened to our customers and we've learned a lot, and one of the windows that we created over the last couple was the multi-strategy window. And this is really being very mindful of the real estate needs of our users. You know, a lot of people don't have the 4, 5, 6 monitor setup and are limited to just 1 or 2 screens, and as a result, the multi-strategy window is a very effective way to incorporate a lot of different strategies into a single window container. So those are the 3 basic ones, and then we sprinkle on some other ideas, like we have our single stock window, which lets you dive directly into a particular security and take a look at some of the data points that Trade Ideas offers. And when I talk about data points, that's one of the secret sauces of Trade Ideas, if you will. It's what makes us special. So we're listening to every tick of every stock, and we get all this data from the exchanges and we database it, but it's what we do after that that makes it super interesting. So we take this data and then we create baselines for every single stock on every time frame. So when something abnormal happens, we're in a perfect position to be able to identify that particular move. And in taking out in that data, we also create other data points. And so let me toggle to our social media channel. This is a channel that's looking for stocks that are being talked about far more than normal on social media. But inclusive in this workspace here, I've got 3 top list windows, a multi-strategy window, and a single stock window. And each of these windows has data points that aren't available anywhere else, the data points that really make trade ideas very, very special. So in this particular view, we're looking at stocks that are being talked about more than normal, and we do that from one of our special data points called StockTwits relative activity. So we're connected directly to StockTwits, and we listen and hear every single tweet that's going on that has to do with stock market symbols. And we know when something is being talked about more than normal, and this is a window that's delivering that to you. Right to the top, this symbol here is being talked about, GRX, more than any other symbol on a relative basis. And then the two windows to the left here are taking a look at the symbols that are just purely being talked about the most. You know, the spiders and Netflix, and these guys have the most activity in the market. And so combining regular market data with unstructured social data to bring you a view that's very unique in the market. Yep.
I was going to say that, and then, you know, as you were talking about that, I couldn't help but notice how then the graphical aspects of it just kind of pop out, especially the position in the 20-day range, and it really, at least in my mind, pointed out how this, once you understand how it works, right, it kind of helps you have an expectation for what you're about to see when you click on the symbol. And that's the other thing that Brad can demonstrate, is that anytime you click, everything is already automatically linked for you to be able to quickly visualize and either confirm or move on. You know, if you like something, like, okay, this looks good. If not, next one. So like if you click, for example, on SBUX, on Starbucks.
Where is it?
It's right up there, yeah. I mean, what you see is that it actually, even though it's had a crazy run, and you can see that it has, right? It's in more on the upper side of its 20-day range because of that huge recent move up that it had. So you kind of, again, visually you're prepared, whereas XOMA, again, if you click on it, is on the lower end of its 20-day range, again, because graphical indicators help you. So the idea then is that this is like subconsciously you will already know what to expect, and then that visual would be confirmed faster to you. You'll be able to make that decision more quickly, and then hopefully allocate your time as well as your capital in a more improved way. That's what. So again, I was just saying how the colors added to everything that you were saying in terms of special data points, because the way the colors are structured and the way that you get that visualization where it just pops out at you, you know, like, oh my God, look at this, you know, RJ at 300 times normal social activity. So you really want to check that out, what's going on.
So that's a great point, Dan, and it leads me to some of the other, what we call derived data points, but it's really the special data points in trade ideas. And the position and range indicator, we have that on a variety of different time frames, intraday, weekly, monthly. I mean, we take this to the year, to the lifetime, and so, you know, this is a graphical indicator, but everything in the software, like I said earlier, is configurable, and everything that you see here, every column is a filter that you can go ahead and put a minimum or max value, and giving you the numerical values behind the scenes allows you to go in and say, I only want to look at the stocks, let's say, that are being discussed a lot, trending down, but happen to be, let's say, in the upper 50% of its 20-day range. And you can do that just by applying a filter, and then every value in here would be above 50. So that's the flexibility. Another data point that we have that's a custom derived data point would be relative volume. It's my favorite, so I like to always point it out. It's really looking in real time at the stock's volume and comparing it to how much does that particular stock do in a volume basis at that time of day. So it's a very, very...
At any given time, yeah.
At any given time. So it's super powerful, and we use that filter in a lot of our different channel strategies. So that's something you should definitely be aware of, because it's one of my favorite filters. I think it's one of the most powerful filters that we have inside of Trade Ideas.
Well, one of the really cool things, Brad, that you just, I think, brought up that we can really showcase to, again, especially our customers, so they can kind of get an idea. So if you go to any alert window or top list window and you go into right-click and say, Brad, why don't you do it real quick? Right-click, configure, and you go to the search tab and look at the window-specific filters, like these are the filters. So as you scroll down, what you realize is that each one of these filters is kind of like a building, like a brick, or a scaffolding to a structure. And there are different kinds of bricks and different kinds of structures. And the idea is that there's so much power here to give you almost any imaginable, conceivable scenario that you can do. And ultimately, that's the part where Holly, our AI engine that we've named, that's what that computer goes out and finds, well, what are the best metrics that show that, like, this serial killer is continuing to behave the way he's behaving. Brad, did that make sense?
It makes sense. I mean, and there really is no substitute. If you want to roll your sleeves up and do this yourself, there's really no substitute for understanding the data points that we have, right? This is kind of what makes Trade Ideas special, and certainly no other scanning or alerting company has these data points from which to work with.
And there's tons of help on each one of them. You can click on each single one, and there's usually, some kind of explanation for what's going on with it, what it does, how it was built. There's a lot of, like, even interactive things where you can see, like, well, if I change this filter value, what would the universe of stocks look like? And that helps you, again, to understand. If you want to be proficient, you can understand what you're dealing with. So,
let me show you something that's a little interesting here, because a lot of people, I know there are a good portion of you guys are subscribers, so these QA webinars, there are a lot of Easter eggs in the software. It's been being built for a long time. So let me show you a little trick and technique. I'm going to go ahead. I could either hit Add Filter, or I could select this magnifying glass right here, but I'm selecting the earnings date. And many of our filters, if you go in here into this magnifying glass, you're going to have some interesting tabs here that allow you to, or help you rather, to configure this particular filter. So in words, first of all, if I was to just put a value in here, let's say 0 to 1. Well, this is telling me exactly what I should be expecting by putting a minimum and maximum value. But this may be actually kind of getting a little advanced too quickly. Maybe it would be better to go to the example area and just select one of the different examples. Maybe you want to set the earnings filter, but you only want to do it for stocks yesterday that had earnings yesterday. Well, this is going to tell you how to do it. It's going to tell you the appropriate min and max configuration setting, and it's also going to give you a graphical representation of those days. And if I was to grab this and send this back, now you can see graphically, if I set up -4 to 0, this is what my expectations are. If I make this to 1, I'm going to cover today as well. So again, this is something you should be aware of, because we have this for all of the different filters in the software. And
Brad,
all of them don't have
if I can just make one comment on that. That there is probably one of the most powerful and yet underutilized technology. Because again, and a lot of times, and especially when it comes to finance, everyone is so end result oriented. Like, give me the symbol. I don't want to know anything but the symbol. But again, if you build a foundation of understanding how our technology works, what you realize is that you have the freedom to express yourself in a lot more powerful ways, like Brad is showing you with learning how to work the earnings filter, and again, utilizing the resources that we have built for many years. But again, they're underutilized because that's just the nature of the game. But this is what you guys are here for. You're here to kind of see the nuggets, the creme de la creme, take it to the next level. And what we're trying to really do is show you how much we've thought about this. And all of this here is designed so that you don't have to, sit there and put in parenthesis, character, backslash, colon, tab. And this is designed so that you can really, in English, and see what you're doing by just interacting.
So here's a good example of the histogram tab, and the histogram, I believe, is available for every filter. But this right here, so knowing how our moving average filter works, if it's above 0, it's above the moving average. If it's below 0, it's below the moving average. We're looking at the 200-day moving average in this analysis right here, and it's letting you know the sample set of symbols that we're looking at that are pertaining to the 200-day. That's 5,500 different symbols. This is the graphical segment that happens to be below it. I'm sorry, there's 5,500 symbols below the 200-day SMA. Now I could go ahead and, let's say I want to look at what's above the 200-day SMA. I could just change this to 0 right here, and I've got 1,423. Graphically, you can see far more symbols are below that 200-day, but just giving you the ability to take this data and analyze it and get the most that you can out of it. Okay, so let's go to another channel here. For instance, let's go to the surge channel. And the surge channel, one of my favorites, this is looking for real-time actionable movement in a stock that has very high volume during the moment. And all three of...
Can I add something real quick? And I don't think that we mentioned this before, but one of the things that happened in version 4.0 recently, I think in the recent beta releases, is that Brad and I went together, and when we were recreating all the pages and adding charts to them, we also improved all of the channels. You know, there was an opportunity for us to kind of also go back and look at all the feedback we've gotten, and we wanted to make the windows more efficient as well as add some of the other windows that have been in the previous versions. So just before you jump in, I just want to make sure everybody knows that this is, again, another reason to upgrade, or definitely if you're on the fence about subscribing, these windows are all just an improvement over the previous. It's like the other one was like a Range Rover 2009 supercharged, and this one's the 2015.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to answer Kyle's question. I'm going to go a little bit more before we take a break and then take some questions and such. But Kyle asked a question. He's looking for a particular channel that we had removed. It was a channel that didn't have the charting, and it had more of the sector information. Well, you can get to that. So if you're watching my desktop, if you go to File, Load Layout, it's going to take you to the Trade Ideas Pro folder in your My Documents. And if you scroll down, there's going to be a shortcut folder. It's going to say Shortcut to Shared Default. There it is right there. It's alphabetical on mine. So Shortcut to Shared Default. And if you do that, you can go ahead and load the older default layout, which is going to have the older channel bar. And that will have all of the original channels that you can peruse and load up and then save to your own cloud so that you always have it. So again, everything that we have here can be saved to your own cloud. It can be modified, changed. Let's say you don't care about the stuff that's bearish and you only want to look at the bullish stuff, and so make that window bigger and put your filters on, different pricing. Then you can go ahead and save this to your own cloud. So what I would do is I would right click on any of the windows, and then I would go Save or Share to Cloud. I would select the entire layout, which basically will check every window here. I'll call it a name. Let's call this Demo Cloud. Save and share. Now this link right here is something that I could share with support. I could share it with one of my trading buddies and have him have complete access to the layout that I had created or modified. But the real important part that we did here is we saved it to your cloud, so at any time in the future you can just go to this channel bar, select My Cloud, or you can do it from the toolbar up at the top, and then it's going to have all of the history archive of windows and layouts and everything that you have previously saved. It's got a nice search mechanism right here, so if I type in demo, it's going to bring up all the different strategies that have to do with demo. If I knew that that happened to be an alert window or a top list, I could specify that way, but just being able to load it back just becomes very nice and handy.
Brad, when you and I get back after Scott, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you walk me through building an alert window, and I think that'll help people just, again, see how you can think and then configure for yourself. And it'll be super simple, but I think it'll be nice when I say it and you execute it so people can see that it's also two different people working.
You bet. So Scott, give me 1 second. I want to get Joe's question answered here real quick. Joe's wondering where the chart option moved to, because Joe upgraded to the latest version and it did move. There's two different ways that you can open up charts. From the toolbar, if you go New, Chart Window, that's one way. Another way to open up a chart is you can right-click on any symbol, go to Send to Chart Window, and it'll open up a chart specific to that symbol. And by default, if you do it that way, the symbol linking is not on, but you can just check it if you want to go ahead and link all the symbols together. So let me bring Scott in. He's going to tell you a little bit about how the pricing works at Trade Ideas. We do offer some specials for attending the webinar and provide some links. So let me do that, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about the odds maker and the AI channel.
Hey, thanks, Brad. Yeah, something we did recently was simplify our pricing. We used to have a somewhat confusing pricing schedule with about 5 different options. Now it's dead simple with a monthly rate is $99 per month. That includes everything. That includes your real-time data, the new charting. It includes a full hour of free one-on-one trading plus access to all of our support forums, etc. It also includes a free trial of our backtesting tool, the Odds Maker. The odds maker is still a single lifetime license. It's $1,100 at the retail. A little bit later in the webinar, I will tell you how to save a few hundred off the purchase. As I said, it's a one-time license purchase. It allows you to backtest the entire market, and it's going to give you access to the AI channel that will be launching soon, probably around Labor Day weekend or shortly thereafter. Of course, we also offer an annual at $888 per year, and that saves you a lot of money over the monthly. Just like the monthly, it includes everything, including real-time data, all the exchange fees for non-professionals. It includes our new charts. All those of you who subscribed under the old plans at $75 a month or the Advantage Player plan are still grandfathered in under those plans with full access to all the charting and all the new features as well. We're now going to have the Q&A session, so if you guys want to direct all of your questions to the questions panel, Brad and Dan will try to demonstrate those, and I'll try to answer any I can in the questions panel as well.
Well, Scott, we'll get to the QA in about 10 minutes. I want to spend about 10 minutes talking about our event-based backtesting tool.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Great. Yeah, and then I want to show a peek about our AI channel, and then we'll take some questions.
All right, cool. Let's do that.
All right, so let's get rid of this. Dan, you there?
Yes, sir.
How would you like to give the high-level overview of what we're doing here with respect to the AI channel in this particular screen before I demonstrate it?
Okay, so one of the things that we're the most proudest, I guess, about is that when we create technology, we're very excited about it. I mean, for obvious reasons, but we also are, we try to give our customers a sneak peek and an ability to kind of engage and interact with us. So what we really are showing here is the foundation of the AI channel, this thing that we call Holy Grail. Okay, and what it is it is a baseline of strategies that the computer is automatically studying and looking at throughout every single day. Tomorrow, of course, it trades out of sample. So there's one out of sample day every day, and then the computer keeps adding the new information, and we rotate the best strategies to the top, which is what ends up becoming the voice of the AI engine. So the idea here, Brad, is to kind of introduce everybody to like the foundation, so you can see kind of almost the robotic dough, is what I would call it. Is that a good?
Yeah, I think that's good. Let me talk about kind of what we do behind the scenes with respect to what we're looking at right now. I mean, in a nutshell, what we're doing is we're just running hundreds and thousands of strategies simultaneously to find out which strategies and which filters are working best in the market. So when you look at
all those, just again, like you said, testing all those filter variables that we just demonstrated, how we showed you all those different blanks. Well, the computer keeps testing almost endless combinations of all those different things together and comes up with statistical concepts.
So let me spin your heads just a little bit before I show you the tool, because this is, I'm going to kind of dig a little deeper than what we're looking at here and give you a sample of, this was kind of an output that we created to do it in a manual basis before we started to have the computers do it. But let's go ahead and I'm going to pull up what we call our Monte Carlo results. That basically the computer is looking at this strategy, it's looking at all the filter combinations that are possible with this strategy, running out of sample, in sample data tests, and coming up with an output similar to this right here. This is one that allows us to kind of digest and understand, but the computer does something a little bit similar without an output. And at the end of all this, it's telling us that this is going to be the strategy that has the best odds of success based upon the last 64 trading days, the last quarter of data, and it's giving you all the expectations. So I don't expect you guys to interpret this, but this is kind of behind the scenes, and I'm going to show you what really the output looks like for the odds maker. And this is essentially a strategy. It's an alert window that has a combination of alerts and filters. In this case, it just is looking at one different alert, which we call a trigger event. It's what's going to cause that symbol to go to the window when that stock breaks that 30-minute opening range. And then I have a few other filters in here. If I go to summary, you can see the filters that I have and the configuration that exists here.
So let me just, Brad, let me quickly make sure everyone understands. So the computer started with kind of a base that we built ourselves, where we said, okay, well, the price will be between 50 cents and $50, and there has to be a certain type of volume today. But then the computer took over for the rest.
So let's go ahead and let's run the odds maker on this strategy and take a look at the output. So right here, this is telling us, or we're going to tell the computer rather, when we're willing to enter into a trade. In this case, we're not going to trade the first 15 minutes of the market, and we're not going to trade the last 3 hours. That means we're not going to initiate a position during those times. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold this position until 5 minutes before the close. West Coast time, we close at 1. So at 12:55, we're going to exit out of all these positions if we did not get stopped out. And we have a $1 stop loss. For people that are a little more advanced, if you do this show advanced, you can determine the number of days that you want to test, up to a quarter. And then you've got the ability to define which columns you want to analyze in the odds maker results. I'm looking at everything. So I don't know that I recommend that for everybody, but I'm going to show you what all that data looks like. And then you can put some more specific and sophisticated exit conditions on here. So this right here happens to be a short. This is the opening range. Let me bring back the AI channel if I didn't close it.
The thing is, you can get pretty sophisticated with it, but sophistication is not a necessity to having something good. And that's the other thing.
Not at all. In fact, I just pulled from this list right here. I just grabbed this one cloud link. All right, and that gave me this opening range here. And it's a short. So, you know, in this market, I don't know that you want to put on your shorts, but this is, we're going to run it, and it's going to tell us the results here.
Well, while we're doing this, let me just say, like, one of the other things that the AI channel is doing and how it's going to help people figure out where to place their bets, so to speak, whether it's the long side, short side, or both, is that, you know, you can imagine if we were starting with 50 base strategies and 25 on the long and 25 on the short, they're not always going to be a specific amount of longs or shorts. You know, you may have the best. It's a competition, whichever way is giving more. So there's just this ability to constantly see where your odds are at their best.
So what this window is doing for us, it's completely managing our expectations with respect to that particular strategy that we have. And the expectations are managed in a numerical way and in a graphical way. And we provide these metrics for you on this display. Let me talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to spend too much time, but let's talk about what we're looking at. So these numerical metrics is telling me, you know, how is this strategy from a profitability perspective? How many trades occurred in that sample set of the 3 months? What was your average winner to average loser? You know, setting those expectations for you in advance, and what was your return on it based on the variables that you can control. And you can control what the starting equity is. You can control the value of each transaction, whether it's a $10,000 per trade or whether you're doing 200 shares per trade. And it models both of those in there, and you can take a look at these models by manipulating the data and see exactly what would be best for you with that strategy. And then you can incorporate commissions and slippage, and everything kind of updates in real time. So if I'm willing to give up 7 cents in and 7 cents out on this strategy, this is what the equity curve is going to look like. And I'm presented with a gross amount. Then we take into consideration commissions, and let's say my commissions happen to be, let's say, $7. So that'll adjust accordingly, and it'll move everything down accordingly. And now I can see what is my net expectation for this strategy. And then I also have a calendar heat map, which lets me know on a graphical basis, how did my strategy do? Not only this month here, but the previous month and the month before that. And then everything you can drill into any particular day and see exactly.
can I demonstrate one thing on the commissions? Would you change that to $25 and just make the slippage a little smaller, like 3 cents?
So commission $25?
Yeah, you're on the commission. You know where it says 7?
Oh, commission, I'm sorry.
And then change the slippage to 3 cents. Okay. So one of the things that I'm demonstrating here is that you can really learn a lot about, like, well, what matters to you. You know, that right now, nobody has $25 commissions in and out unless, like, you're calling some broker at Schwab or something. But what you realize that, if you have good data, that kind of commission doesn't even really matter if your projected annual return is 81%. And that gives you a little bit something relative. It's another piece of the information, because when you're hearing brokers, pitch their pitch, one saying, hey, I've got $8.99, and the other one's like, I've got $8.17, and you're like, well, none of those seem to matter really. This way, again, it just allows you to see something from a different perspective to help you make a better decision on a completely different side of the equation.
Let me run through a couple of these tabs real quick, Dan, so we can get to the questions. Kind of running a little over here, but some of the other tabs, I've got a daily view, so I can look at what's my profit expectation each day over the course of those 3 months. How many trades per day did I make? What was my drawdown, maximum drawdown here, about 1.3%, and what was the buying power required to implement this strategy based on the dollars or share transaction that I'm performing. Some of the other tabs we'll just go through briefly. A larger calendar heat map. Again, you can drill into any of the days here. Probably the place where you spend most of your time would be this optimization area if you were doing it manually. And this is really what our computers are doing automatically. Right here, we're looking at price. So this is giving me analysis, let's say every $5 on the sample set that I had. There was only one stock that met the $10 to $15 price range, happened to be a winner, but it's breaking it down here on the price of the stock. And we can take that same analysis, break it down on time of day. When was I successful trading? When was I not successful trading? Remember, this was already an optimized strategy, so we're not going to expect to find too many holes here.
What's kind of cool, Brad, is that our customers can also sort of see it when you're going on the other filters tab. You guys can imagine that we build this stuff as data first, and then that data was so important for us to mine that we mined it programmatically. And that kind of like opens you up to how because remember, this was there before the Automaker. We just put it in the kind of form that eventually let us ourselves be able to mine it.
Yeah, and it's really this area right here, this other filters area, where we're looking at every single filter that we have in trade ideas and being able to look at the sample set based on all the different values of the different filters. And you can base what I do when I'm going through it is I'm cycling through the different filters and visually looking at the different groups and sample sets. And again, this is what our computer is doing automatically, and obviously doing it in far greater frequency than as a human we're able to do.
So Brad, let's do this before we jump to the full question and answer. I want you to jump through one more hoop for me, because I want to kind of give everybody finally the reason why you believe it's so important to have this technology. Will you close this up and open up a brand new alert window from scratch?
Yeah.
So Brad's doing a configuration for me. We're starting from a completely blank window, and I have this idea. I want to catch stocks that I think are breaking out, and the way in my mind that works is I want to do something very simple where they must have moved at least $1 over the last 10 minutes, and the price between like $5 and $100. Brad, do you think you can manage that for me?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different ways that we can do that. You want to do that in an alert window?
Yes, in an alert window, absolutely.
All right, so let's pick a trigger event. We could pick a couple different trigger events. I could do like a running up now. You can add that alert. Let's take a 5-minute high. I'm also going to do that. And I'm going to do one more. And I'm going to do a new high event. And then I'm going to put in the requirement for the change in 1 minute. Or how many minutes did you say, Dan?
I said change in, I think, 10 minutes of $1.
Of $1. So that'll be a minimum change of $1 in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Any other filters? Price, volume?
It just had to have, let's say, volume today of 200,000.
Volume today of 200,000.
Yep.
And again, I could have found that by coming over here and typing volume today and giving me all the different filters that pertain to volume today.
Yep.
Okay, what else?
That's it. That's fine. And let's call it, moving up quickly. So this is a window that's looking for stocks that are moving up quickly. There, as Brad showed you, he kind of pegged the event in 3 different ways that you can see it. And here's those examples when you look at the history of that's from today, right?
That's from today, yeah.
Okay.
You stretch that out, you get the date, everybody.
Correct. Okay. So the question then is, Brad, well, are these good trading signals or not? And this is where the odds maker comes in, where we can do a hypothesis and ask, well, what happens when a move like this takes place, and what happens to stocks usually half an hour before the close?
Half hour before the close, when are we entering in?
I think that's fine. Like, obviously, just not the last hour.
Okay. And we're buying it. Do you want to put a stop or anything like that?
No.
All right.
We just want to see how it works. So here you can see in real time, our computer is going through all the possible trade possibilities. It's going back and it's kind of constructing history in what would have been happening had it been behind the wheel and looking at this pattern. Okay? And this is what we kind of call as the foundation layer, the base layer. In other words, this is where there's absolutely no computer intervention, and you are looking at pure statistics. These are like the pure statistics of what happens when a stock makes an upward movement after being up at least $1 in 10 minutes. And what you're finding is what we find in almost every situation is that without any computer assistance, the market by itself is incredibly efficient. It is always within a win rate of 46 to 51% and a profit factor of between 0.9 to 1 something. But certainly, by itself, nothing that you would ever want to just put your money into. And that's where we say that the only way to really speculate more professionally and treat this more like a business is to apply the statistics to make sure that the speculation that you're making is at least as statistically sound as possible. So here's what this strategy looked like. There were 2,000, so you can see the raw sample size. There were 2,033 possible events that were trades, out of which 44.9% were winners. Look at the average winner to average loser. They're pretty close. That means that if there's any kind of slippage, like you have, if this is your average winner and loser, and you're losing more than you're winning, you're losing money, as they say, and making it up in volume. But what the odds maker does, and what we are doing with the AI channel, and why we are saying we are the future, is that we are taking it away from this. This is the visual. This is the way that almost everybody today makes decisions, is like this. They don't know that this is the equity curve, but they see the chart pattern, and then they decide. Well, we're trying to make you guys decide in a better way, in a more fluid way, a way that's more statistically sound, and a way that should represent better results for everybody who is involved. And that's the odds maker.
I like it. That's good. I mean, that's a great explanation of it. Let's spend some time here and take some questions.
Good.
If there's something that Scott, Barry, or Jamie were unable to get to from your questions, please fire them away now and see if we can answer them for you. So, at AI channel, we'll be able to choose ready-to-use best strategies already proved by your computer to be the most profitable. Absolutely, Alex. That's exactly what the AI channel is going to be doing. It's going to be perusing through, combing through numerous strategies to find the ones that are best suited, tested the best in today's market.
Yeah, and then obviously met all sorts of criteria for not being curve fitted as much as possible, et cetera, et cetera.
So Michael asked a question here about SMS and email. Let me show you how to access that. And if you have any questions specific to it, please shoot us an email, and we'll definitely help you out personally. But what you want to do is you want to go to the support tab up here, and then go to account management, and we've got this email SMS setting. And this will allow you to configure numerous strategies in here, and you can configure the way the body and the header of the email looks. But at the end, you're just going to be getting an email up to every 20 minutes for a strategy. So if you're looking for this to work every 2 minutes or 5 minutes, it's not going to do that automatically, although when you get that notification, you can instantly reset it, and then it'll listen for the next event.
Yeah, that's another hidden gem that, you know, we probably should make more visible to people, and I think we will. But yes, the fact that it's there, it's a very important to know. So Charles asked, what is the time expectation for the AI channel? Charles, that's a great question. I mean, we're showing it to you in real time, and we're working on it. We're trying to hope to have like a pre-alpha out for everybody who has access to the odds maker at some point after Labor Day, like, you know, 8th, 9th, or 10th. There's just so much going on under the hood that I can't 100% guarantee it, but that's where we're at roughly. And again, we're kind of always throwing out the nuggets when we see, like, for example, for anybody who wants the good strategy that Brad was demonstrating from this Q&A webinar, we will provide that for people who have OddsMaker access. That's one of the things we do at all these webinars. And certainly, again, if you subscribe today, ask us, and we will provide this information for you. So we keep you, again, you're always right there with us. So as soon as it's available, it'll be out.
Let me show Deb real quick. She asked a question about if you find a study which is consistently profitable, can it be programmed for a personal alert window? And yes, it can. And this is what I have inside of mine. I created a window back in November 3rd of 2014. It's just an alert window that I have in my bank of strategies. I can load it up at any time. I can turn this on. And just to show you, you know, there are strategies that you can find that will be consistently profitable and do work on a consistent basis. And this has been going almost, 10 months now. And so you can take a look at what it's going to return here from a perspective. It's looking for a real strong, unusual move downward, and we're hypothesizing that we're going to buy that strategy, and the results will come through. So while that's doing is, let me answer Carl's question. And Carl, presently, he's asking if there's a way to indicate if there's a new ticker populating inside of a top list window. And presently, the answer is no, but we are working on in development a couple of different ways to identify new symbols, and also if the symbols are moving up or moving down in that ranked list. So that is something that we're working on, and I don't have any time frame, but it's a great idea. And we did receive that originally from one of our clients, and we listened to you guys. That's one of the things. You know, we wouldn't be where we are for as long as we are if we didn't listen to you guys, and we consider everything. Let's just put it that way. So this is something, this just came out here, just finished, profit factor of 6.11. That means the sum total of all the winning trades over the sum total of all the winning or losing trades is a factor of 6. So that's a great number. And you can see all the other metrics here. It seems like the strategy seems to be just had an amazing day on Monday. Because
well, Brad, can you do me a favor? Demonstrate again. This is where I want you guys to see how you can really utilize the data. Brad, will you put in a slippage of 15 cents? Okay, so imagine here now, Brad is saying, okay, when I'm getting into one of these trades, I'm losing 15 cents on the entry and 15 cents on the exit. In other words, 30 cents total. And the reason he's doing that is because he knows that this kind of a strategy has volatile stocks that are often spready, right, Brad? So you can account for that, and you can say to yourself, oh, okay, So again, obviously I still have enough wiggle room even with those kind of assumptions and paying 25s. So that's again the beauty of what we open people's eyes to.
If we pull this day up right here and we look at the buying power, it's just inordinate amount of trades, and you wouldn't be able to accommodate all of that. But it's giving you that visual representation. This was an amazing trading day if you were able to capitalize on some of the moves.
So, Brad, if I want to answer Stuart Ashton's question, he asked, is there an alert for stocks that have news out today? Something that could be a column on a top or alert list. So that's a great question. We've often thought whether we should do a more news integration or not. And the data that we've collected on it, the science at least, says that typically we find news more quickly than news comes out on the AP because we're tracking volume. And we're doing it in so many different ways. So for example, you can have a 1-minute volume bar filter that we have, and you can say, show me any stock as soon as it trades like 500% of a 1-minute bar. And all of a sudden, instantly, as soon as somebody starts jockeying for a position of any kind, whether it's in the options market to hedge or the people that are buying because they have some information, you're able to see it more quickly. Then since we link to like StockTwits, for example, you can link this to a web page and you can instantly see what people are talking about, or Twitter.
All right, are there any other questions?
There's a couple. Mike has two. I'm reading Carl's.
All right, so Mike, some of the new charting features that we've added, this latest version gives you the ability to save your annotations, save your trend lines, and your support and resistance. So everything, whether it's an alert, top list, multi-strategy window, it's all right-click menu sensitive. So if you right-click inside of a chart window, you're presented with the menu items that allow you to define the time frame, and you can insert any of the annotations. And with this latest version, they will be saved and retained when you bring back that particular security.
So, Brad, I'm going to answer Carl's question. He was asking about, the fact that when you get an alert for a new high, for example, it'll say next resistance, or like when it crosses a support or crosses a resistance, we put the number, and he was saying, can that be a column somewhere that we could use? And you and I have talked about that before.
That's partially in development. We're working on a new column that you're able to build, and you're able to build with the different fields that we have available. So, yeah, it's not. I don't have a date, and we're kind of. It's not at the highest of the priorities, but that is definitely something that we have started work on, and I would expect maybe by the end of the year that we would have that functionality available in the software.
Brad, what about Igal asked about NinjaTrader? Now, we link to almost everything with our generic connector, where you can basically use our internal connection to link to anything, including NinjaTrader and TradeStation. But we're in the process. We're completely embedded and integrated inside of Interactive Data's eSignal, and I think we're working on something on the TradeStation side as well.
Yeah, we're in a few little issues with the latest linking to TradeStation's version with Windows 10, but we're working on that in development as well.
So, Brad, can you show, are we able to insert anything in your version?
Like we should be able to. And by the way, we do link with Thinkorswim.
So Brad's showing inserting a trend line and what you can do with that. No links to the Sierra charts. Again, I'm not an expert on the linking, but
I believe we do link with Sierra charts. Shoot me an email, brad@trade-ideas, and I'll see if I can work with you to get that going.
So Glenn asked about the RBI and GBI that we're all discussing in the chat room, and that's being worked. I mean, we were hoping.
Yeah, let me talk about that, Dan, because that's super exciting. That's one of the things that we haven't really talked to people about, because we've been talking about what we call grids or TIQ for a long, long time now, but this is really, really coming close to materialization. And effectively, what grid/TIQ is an ability to create events and filters that are not available inside of Trade Ideas. You know, inside of Trade Ideas, we give you a lot of power, but there's still only a finite number of alerts and filters that you can use. Well, Grids really opens that up, and this latest project that we're working on is incorporating the Grids data into TI Pro. So the RBI strategy that is being talked about and shown inside of the trading room is something that's going to be available inside of TI Pro very shortly. So extremely excited about that.
Alex was saying, to whom do we connect the best to? Are you, Alex, are you referring to API connections for actual trading, or just linking, you know, symbology charts and things like that? Because, and again, at the high level, now that we have our own charts, I mean, we're making it, for automatic trading. Okay, so for automatic trading, I would say Sterling or Interactive Brokerage. Brad, is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Lightspeed integration is probably the best of them.
True, and Lightspeed. I don't know why, I totally forgot about that. Yep.
The Lightspeed integration has Brokerage Plus, which is, it's pretty slick. I'll show you just a real brief snippet of it right here, but Brokerage Plus allows you to take any strategy that you made inside of an alert window in Trade Ideas and automate it. And you just drop it into, you know, the strategy tab right here. You turn it on, and then you can look at the position tab and just watch your positions add to and subtract based upon the time specification of your strategy, or a stop loss or a profit target, and it'll completely manage itself. And some people use this as more of a gray box type of trading environment, where they'll use this to automatically initiate their positions, and then they'll go ahead and manually manage those positions for the exit.
Yeah, it's a really nice piece of software that, you know, we took a lot of time into building, especially from just interacting with the most active and engaged clients, and we kind of got this little workflow.
Google Trade Ideas Lightspeed. This is going to take you to a landing page here that we built. It's really going to talk about Brokerage Plus and the different features and functionality inside of it. So just scroll down here and look at all the different tools that we have. So to make sure that you have the latest version, if you go to Help and then About, you're going to see the version that you have. You can always go to our website and take a look at the version that's being posted there, both from a production version as well as a beta version. And I do recommend that if you're on the beta version, you keep upgrading, you know, as we keep producing these, because like any piece of software, you know, we've added a lot of new functionality to it, and as a result, we're finding little mini issues here and there and updating them daily. So please stay up to date. So if you're on our download section here, by default, you're going to be taken to the production version, but if you click on this charts version, the latest one that we have available is 4.09. And I'm sure that'll change in the next couple days to 4.010.
Yeah, they're coming out daily. So yeah, and Carl, Brad, and I are both ahead on a internal development version.
Yeah, we always like to test it for a few days, or at least a day before we make it available in a beta.
Right.
Unless
we torture ourselves a little bit before we start torturing you, so that you can really see how we do it. Let's see, are there any other questions? Brad, I think it's time for Scott to come on, because we don't want to keep anybody too long.
Yeah, so Mr. Scott, are you back?
Okay, I think I'm off mute now. Thank you guys, great presentation. I'd like to direct everyone's attention to, there's a handout panel in your GoToWebinar interface there. And you should find a link to download a PDF, and what that PDF will contain is the same information and links that you see on this screen and the next screen that you'll see. It's something we like to do for everyone to thank you for attending, and that's give you a little something to make it worth your while for attending in addition to the information. Those of you who are not currently subscribers can use this product code on checkout to get $50 off your first month or $150 off your first year. And that code is QAWEB26. It's all caps, just like that. You can also use that code to get $300 off of the lifetime oddsmaker license. So if you don't currently have the oddsmaker and want to get ready for the AI channel, please do that. Also remember that with the purchase of the oddsmaker license, you get your own custom strategy and some additional consultation with our support for free. So something to keep in mind, use that code before Friday, August 26th, and that handout panel should have a PDF of this code and everything for you. For those of you who understand the value of trade ideas and perhaps want to get into the oddsmaker to get ready for the AI channel, or you already have trade ideas and just want to get out of the monthly and into the annual, this is a fantastic offer. You go to that bit.ly link, bit.ly/SAVE900. The save is all caps because you save $900 or more off of this. If you go directly to that page, you can buy a combination combo that for $1,088, you get the full year of trade ideas, which is $888. You get the lifetime oddsmaker license, that's $1,100, and your custom strategy. So you'll save over $900 just that way. If you already have a trade idea subscription, like if you're on the monthly and you'd like to get into this and get on the annual and be prepped for the AI channel that's coming out by Labor Day, use this offer. We're not going to probably have the offer up much longer past Labor Day. So it's a good time to do this. Again, that link is bit.ly/SAVE900. Oh, sorry about that. The expiration date should read August 28th. That was a typo. Thanks, guys, for pointing that out. So your PDF handout will be wrong, but use that code by Friday, and you'll be good. It was set up correctly. I did test it. So again, bit.ly/save900. If you have any questions about this, or if you decide to upgrade to that combination and are already on the monthly, shoot us an email at info@tradeideas.com. We're really easy to get a hold of. We've got a support chat on the website that's manned most day long with a live person. You can reach us on Facebook. We are Trade Ideas Pro on Facebook. We're Trade Ideas 1 on Twitter and Trade Ideas on Twitter. Alex, the link works. bit.ly/SAVE900. That'll take you directly to the page where you can pick up that combo package. You just need to type it in correctly. Or perhaps the link on the PDF you meant. I can double check that. It should work fine. Yeah, and the link on the PDF works fine, so that'll take you there too. So, yeah, and I just put the link it takes you to in the chat. The reason I don't use the long link is because it's hard to read out during a webinar. But again, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Shoot us an email, info@tradeideas.com, with anything you need assistance with. We'll get right back to you. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys.